guys, I'm back again today with another reaction video, and today we're checking out the biggest corruption scandal in Latin America's history. So there's a lot of people asking me to check out some Latin American videos, but I'm not so sure what exactly or what specific video. So please let me know the title of the video or the link of the video if you can. And yeah, before we do start, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell button, and let's start our journey. The first ever Latin American video-esque or American, South American video, all of America video that we checked out was Residente, I believe, and it got a lot of comments, and yeah, everybody was really nice about it. The reason why it took me a while to react to anything related to that was because I wasn't sure what specific video, but I feel like it's overdue, my reaction, so I have to check it out, and I want to as well, right? Because I'm not really the best when it comes to American history, right? I know obviously a bit, but I'm not like the best at it, so this will be a great journey for us to like learn, especially about the Latin side or the Latin American side. So yeah, we're gonna start off this video because that was when I put Latin America, this is the first thing that came up, and I know it might not be the best light when it comes to Latin America, but I hope that it gives us a positive light regardless of the title. I hope it still gives us the positivity that we need, right? So let's get it. That intro was so long.
This is Comprej, the biggest petrochemical complex in Brazil. It's located in Itaborai, a small city in the state of Rio de Janeiro. The multi-billion-dollar project launched in 2008, and the plan was to open in 2011. Thousands of Brazilians moved there to work. But it's 2018, and Comprej never opened. Construction of the complex stopped in 2015, after it became a symbol of the largest corruption scandal in Brazil's history, Operation Carwash. Hundreds of prominent Brazilians, including CEOs, members of Congress, and even a former president have been implicated. Some of Brazil's largest companies lost billions of dollars, and the country slid further into a recession. 4 years since it broke, the scandal is still rippling through Brazil, leaving places like Itaborai devastated in its wake.
Honestly, I've always wanted to visit Brazil, because like in the World Cup, growing up, me and my dad would always like cheer for Brazil if our home country wasn't in the World Cup. Ghana, that's where he's from. So yeah, if Ghana wasn't in the World Cup, we would be rooting for Brazil. So ever since I was like, I really loved Brazil in the World Cup, and I always wanted to go there, but then I was scared because of media. So obviously you guys, and also our journey through this channel, will maybe change our prejudice, right? Or we don't know, we'll see. But I do definitely want to go to Brazil.
Itaborai devastated in its wake.
Can go without visa, so
quando você acha que tá indo bem, é aí que você tem que abrir os olhos, porque vai de mal a pior.
Isso tudo nós aqui sabíamos que isso ia acontecer. Uma hora ou outra isso aí ia vir à tona aí, e o que aconteceu foi isso.
Trabalhei 1 ano e 4 meses lá dentro do comprej, e foi a gota d'água, foi quando acabou.
Itaborai was the perfect place for one of Brazil's most ambitious energy projects. It had the space for 2 refineries and a petrochemical plant, spanning 45 square kilometers. It's also close to Brazil's newly discovered natural gas fields off the coast of Rio and Sao Paulo. When the project launched, it was estimated that Comprej would generate 200,000 direct and indirect jobs in the area. Itaborai became a boomtown. In 2010, 50,000 people moved there, 160 new businesses opened, and the population grew by over 16%. But 1,200 kilometers away, police broke a case that would doom comprej. In 2012, they had this gas station in Brasilia under surveillance. They suspected it was being used to launder money. Criminals would bring in illegal cash, report it as gas station earnings, and then funnel the cash to someone else, making the money hard to trace back. The police arrested a known money launderer, Alberto Rousseff, and offered him a plea deal in exchange for the source of the money. But he warned his lawyers, "If I speak, the republic is going to fall." Rousseff testified that he was laundering money not for criminals, but for top executives at Petrobras, Brazil's state-owned oil company.
Of course, it's the rich who gets richer, right?
Petrobras was the largest oil company in Latin America. It also owned comprej.
Sure.
The police launched a massive investigation, Operation Carwash, and soon discovered Petrobras was at the center of an intricate corruption scheme. The company used its projects to enrich criminals, engineering companies, and Brazilian government officials.
What?
Here's how it worked in the comprej project. When Petrobras needed to build the complex, it started a bidding process for the job. Typically, engineering firms would compete for the contract, driving down the price for Petrobras. But a group of these companies got together and formed an agreement. Instead of competing against each other, they cooperated to fix prices and take turns accepting projects. Odebrecht, the biggest firm and ringleader of this cartel, won some of the major contracts to build comprej. This allowed Odebrecht to overcharge Petrobras and profit immensely. The original cost for comprej was about $6 billion, but by 2015, Petrobras had paid at least $14 billion. Odebrecht then money laundered some of its profits through outside businesses like the gas station before paying bribes to Petrobras executives and politicians. These executives would take the bribes as an incentive to keep giving contracts exclusively to the cartel. Politicians took the bribes in exchange for their influence over Petrobras, like Rio de Janeiro state governor Sergio Cabral, who received more than $800,000 to give comprej contracts to a firm in the cartel. This also became an important funding source for their re-election campaigns.
Brazil's Petrobras, one of the world's biggest oil companies, in a heap of trouble.
The company is in the midst of an escalating corruption scandal.
After the scandal broke, Petrobras and the engineering companies were in trouble. Over 24 executives were initially arrested. Compounded by falling oil prices, Petrobras lost half of its stock value between September 2014 and January 2015. Construction on comprej was incomplete when 13,000 workers were laid off. Today in Itaborai,
see who suffers out of this craziness is the people. The people are the one who suffers, right? Like those people on top. Yes, they might have gone to prison, but do you see some of their lives in prison? It's better than people's lives outside of prison, right? Because they have like their own television, they have like butler service, they have cigar and whatever, and they can still low-key work when you're in prison as well to make more money. So, and then the people who got laid off, they go back to their life without even having money. Like, this world is fudged.
Incomplete when 13,000 workers were laid off. Today in Itaborai, 40,000 people are signed up for the city's employment program. An average of 250 people line up here in search of odd jobs.
As pessoas, a maioria, vira à noite sim. Fica aqui para poder garantir a sua vaga aqui. Geralmente aqui é 300, 500 pessoas já teve aqui para poder pegar a senha. Só que só são 300 senhas distribuídas.
Many of these unemployed residents used to work at comprej.
Como eu ainda trabalhei lá 2 anos no comprej, então eu tive muita oportunidade. É um lugar em que você pode até crescer um pouco a sua estabilidade de emprego, entendeu?
Eu vim de Cabo Frio na esperança de trabalhar no comprej, no polo petroquímico, sendo que já tinham me falado das vagas. Aí eu saí, me mudei, vim morar aqui, né? Hoje eu sou morador daqui.
The massive layoffs at comprej affected the rest of the city as well.
Eu fui montar um restaurante lá na entrada do comprej, na entrada mesmo, na principal do comprej. E ali, por dia, era 400 refeições e vendia. Todo dia, café da manhã, às vezes até janta e tudo. Quando chegou 2013, Comprej fez isso só. Parou tudo, restaurante não tinha mais ninguém, começou a ficar deserto.
With Brazil's economy still trying to recover.
That movie. It's giving me this vibe of, you know, that movie wherein people are locked up in like buildings or like a, yeah, it's like a building, and then the lowest parts they don't get the food, right? The food starts from the top floor, and then the leftovers will go to the next floor, and then the next. So the last people are just getting like crumbs and stuff like that, or nothing at all. This is the image that I see whilst reacting to this. I forget the title of that movie.
From a recession, Itaborai has found it hard to bounce back on its own. Today, some limited construction is planned to resume at comprej after Chinese and Brazilian firms partnered with Petrobras. The natural gas unit is expected to open there in 2020. But this would only create about 5,000 jobs. And the problem is, the closing of comprej and the devastation of Itaborai is not an isolated incident. It happened all over Brazil and all over Latin America. Operation Carwash successfully revealed systemic corruption in Brazil. Carwash put ex-President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in jail, contributed to the downfall of his successor Dilma Rousseff, and a related investigation has led to her successor, Michel Temer, being charged for corruption. The ex-CEO of Odebrecht was sentenced to 19 years in prison, and Ike Batista, once Brazil's richest man, was sentenced to 30 years. But the same companies were funding major infrastructure projects all over Brazil, so the scandal brought many to an abrupt stop. Like this nuclear power plant in Angra dos Reis, for instance. Like comprej, it was halted in 2015 because of direct involvement in the carwash scheme. $60 million in bribes were paid out of the project's funding. By 2016, 11 projects were reportedly stalled in Brazil alone. It didn't stop there. The engineering companies involved worked all over Latin America, and in 2016, 17 projects were reportedly stalled in at least 7 countries. Like this irrigation project in Peru, where 3 former presidents have been accused of taking bribes from Odebrecht. In Colombia, this river dredging project was stopped after Odebrecht admitted to paying $11 million in bribes. And in Venezuela, at least 23 infrastructure projects have been suspended. These stalled projects mean lots of layoffs. A report estimates the carwash scandal wiped out 500,000 jobs in Brazil alone. Over 4 years after the scandal broke, Brazil's unemployment is still high. Operation Carwash is a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it's uncovering systemic corruption that has plagued Brazil for decades. But on the other, it's threatening Brazil's democracy. For many, the prosecution of prominent leaders, especially Lula, who was imprisoned at the time when he was leading in the election polls, has revealed a bias in Brazil's judicial system. The elections are now the most divisive in the country's history, with many losing their faith in their political leaders.
Hoje em dia nós não sabemos quem é. A pessoa hoje em dia ela vem disfarçada. Do que ela fez, a pessoa vai procurar e ela não atende.
Wow, selfish. Let me know what other videos like to react to. This was very interesting. I really do enjoy watching this type of videos, like documentaries and stuff like that, to kind of like see the truth, hopefully, because some documentaries might give you half the truth, not entirely, or falsify some stuff. But let me know if you guys in the comments will be the one to tell me, oh, this is not, don't believe this, or don't react to this, or react to this instead, right? You guys will be my guide, and let's journey through Latin America together so we can learn. But if you like this video, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.